Where is the music?
You.
Or should we do it again?
Yeah, let's go for it, man.
Well. Welcome. What day is it, Wes?
It's Friday. It's
What type of
Friday, and
Friday
I've
is
got
it?
Guinness, and it's meant to be a bank holiday in the UK, and I've worked pretty much all day. So,
What
and
did
this
you
poor
work on?
guy that we've got coming on, he's working as well. Bless him.
What did you work on?
I've been billing this morning, which is good. My business coach will be happy to know. But a new little strategy. Well, it's not a little; it's a big strategy project on the south coast. I was doing a bit of stuff with Brand Alliance. Like I don't know, this week I got announced as part of the as a coach on the Brand Builders Alliance, which
With
is
Jacob Cass,
really
the
sick.
one and only.
Yeah. So all good, man. Yeah, good week. What about you?
So how do you score your week from 1 to 10?
Oh, it's a solid like 9 easy, I reckon. I'm a
Ooh,
bit ill still, so violins can still come in the chat. But yeah, it's a good 9 without a doubt.
nice.
Is
And then
actually anyone
Monday's
here?
bank holiday as well, isn't it?
Have you messed it up? Is actually anyone in the chat? Can people just say hi?
I don't know. I think can anyone is anyone in the chat?
I think you've
I,
messed
I
it up.
just I just went on that link and I said go live. No.
Well, let's carry on
Did
then.
you post? Did you post it on the
Yeah, it's
on?
gone on. It's gone up.
Right. So if anyone is there, let us know
I
how
love
you
it
week
how the
went.
guy we're gonna bring on just said we were super organized, and then you fucking
Mm.
ruined everything, literally. And he's laughing
This
now.
is the pleasures and the scenes and the mistakes of going live to fuck up. So someone is there.
Yeah, we're here.
Yes, Mark
Way.
is there. So it is working. It is working from the Shire. Tell us how your week is gone from 1 to 10. Tell us where you're joining us live from. Wes.
Yes.
What the fuck is the water cooler?
Oh, the water cooler. Well, it was an interesting concept, wasn't it, that we had in lockdown, and we decided just to all rock up on a Friday, have a few drinks, and learn something new. So the
Yeah,
concept of the cooler is that you meet somebody you don't know, and you learn something you didn't know before, and that's basically
yeah,
what it is. And how
yeah,
we love to rock it and twist it and flip it on its head is that we don't tell you who's going to be on until you rock up and you find out yourself. But
yeah. I mean,
this guy's a don. Like I only spent a short time with him. It's quite intimate, even though it was short. But he is a don. I'm telling you now.
short and intimate is how you like it anyway.
Just depends, man. Lights on though. Definitely not lights on.
But also, guys, this is also live on YouTube. YouTube also has all the recording episodes of the previous shows, and the guests that we always have on the show, they're always secret until the last very second. And we had some wicked conversation. We had Rory Sutherland, we had Chris Doe, Donald Miller, we had David Acker. Who else do we had? Wes?
Simon Dixon.
Simon Dixon. Like
And we
we
had some
had,
like cool little gem people coming through, like little Elliot last week, and
we had Elliot last week.
some really kind of
Was brilliant.
interesting people that share wealth. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So if you haven't seen the last episode, if you're joining us live for the first time, go and check them out. There are some really good conversation. But
Yeah.
without further ado, shall we?
Let's go. I want to
Shall
get
we?
this guy in. He's a fellow
Go.
Yorkshireman as well, so like it's just harmony in
Go
all
York.
sense. But yeah, this guy, man. I don't know if anyone's worked it out, but this week, but he's influenced like major brands: Apple, Amazon, Coca-Cola, TikTok, Disney. This should give it away, but he co-founded Flight Story with Stephen Bartlett. He's a former MD of Social Chain, and he scaled that thing to like 750 million. Like
Ooh.
this kid can flip shit and make it work. He's recently founded Co-Created, which I love, and I want to know more about it today. He's a true gent. He's a lovely guy, but he's a fucking powerhouse. This kid. Let's welcome Oliver Yonchev to the water cooler. Here he is.
You don't have the sound effects.
I was giggling in the background, and honestly, I was like, have they been doing research and short and intimate and found my like secret OnlyFans accounts? Short and intimate.
We did. That's the only reason why you're here. And I want you to tell us all the financial behind your OnlyFans account.
Well, listen. These, eclectic cottages aren't cheap, so that's all I'm saying. You wanna
Because
sign
I
in?
thought I could recognize that background, and I couldn't say where have I seen that background before.
Yeah,
Ollie, how you doing, buddy? How was your week?
It was good. Chaos, busy. I'm going to be very honest with you. I forgot today was a bank holiday. I had several meetings booked in and a few people didn't show up. And I was like, why is no one showing up to meetings today? And apparently today's a holiday. So here we are. The
Not when
curse of an entrepreneur.
I'm going to say, not when you work for yourself, mate. It's get up, do it, get on with it, right?
Every day
Yeah.
I'm hustling.
Yeah, 100%. So where do we want to start, man? Where do you want to rock with this? Like, I found this interesting topic. Like, when I asked you what you want to talk about, I know you spoke previously on other shows. I've heard you talk about this subject, but why? Like, why did you want to like dive into the deep end of like AI and creativity? Like, where does this like start?
I'll be very honest. I'm very conflicted with technology generally.
Mhm.
I'm obsessed with how technology augments and influences our life. I'm certainly. I always feel this sense of imposter syndrome when I get wheeled out as an AI expert, and I'm like, I feel like, bro, I'm just like, I go on 4 a.m. YouTube binges. You know, there's people that dedicate their lives and have serious pedigree in academia. I suppose one thing that maybe I have an advantage over is thinking, how do you use technology in business? And you know, through my career, I probably had my adult career in the emergence of social media becoming increasingly important in the world. Equally, I'm a bit of a shiny new toy nut. So when blockchain technology started, I was, you know, very interested. You could say I chase hype. And then obviously a few years ago, when generative AI, we were introduced through ChatGPT, um, that equally made me re-question what I'd come to know about business and marketing. And I've thought about this for a few years. And the reason I want to talk about it is because I think it's a very nuanced topic. And I'll lay my case for why I think the positives, why I think AI and creativity is great for the industry. Number one, if you go back over 30, 40 years, even further back, most economic value was created by left brains, engineers, people that worked in finance. Go across the analytical spectrum, and they were the people that could create the most economic value. Creatives, right brains, I say, you know, we made people laugh, we entertained, maybe we shaped culture, but the impoverished artist is a real thing. You know, there's truth in the impoverished artist. And my view is we're now getting to a period where computers now speak in natural language, and the absurdity of creatives and the mental models and the way that we pair distinctive different topics and themes together, I think gives right brains all the advantages. And I think as we can create products and services easier than ever, those who know how to communicate well, those that know how to build brands, those that know how to make things stand out, make people feel, I think they have the advantages now. So the positive of what's happening in the world, I'm very excited by new technologies entering all industries. The downside is, because I was part of the early social media journey, I also saw all the unintended consequences that came with innovation. You know, I was saying to Martin before, you know, if I think of social media, it started as a very innocent place to connect us, create, let's say, you know, nice, novel online experiences. Fast forward multiple decades, and you have the rise in the mental health crisis. We're all fucking got ADHD. We're all phone addicted. And suddenly you realize that there are a series of unintended consequences that come with profound technology. And much smarter people than me say that the generative era and artificial intelligence, and AI is a bit of a catch-all for many things, from robotics to generative to predictive. But generally speaking, when we speak about it, we talk about generative AI. And smarter people than me say it is more profound and impactful than the invention of electricity. So when you hear those terms, it's easy to kind of go, do we need that on a Friday? But the reality is, you should be paying attention. We've been interfacing with the technology in some form for many years now, but new rule books are being written now. And like, as a marketeer, as a creative, as someone that invests and builds startups, I think that's exciting, but it's taken with a little bit of caution. So that's why I'm fascinated with this topic of AI and creativity.
So what do you I think we've got our own opinions, but what do you think as of now, like, AI can't do, you know, in its honest sense, really?
So what can't it do? I think that gap is, if you asked me a year ago, that I'd be able to reel off a lot of things. You ask me today, I go, not much. There's not much in the digital realm that it can't do. You know, I was speaking with a good friend of mine. We were having a back and forth, and he's an elite art director and runs a top design studio. And he was, you know, building the case that, well, that's not a brand, you know, what we're seeing. It was kind of topical off the back of ChatGPT's latest image model. And everybody's saying designers are dead and vibe marketing's coming, you know, all this new vernacular. And the reality is, when you kind of just extrapolate just a few years, you go, we're kind of being a bit romantic about what we do. We're being really romantic in the same way, you know, we all used to say in music, yeah, people value albums and CDs. And then, you know, Napster came along and torrents came along. And then we have, you know, Spotify and beyond. And you kind of go, we can't be romantic about it. If we can create better, cheaper, faster. And I will say, and this is not my, I suppose, case, but Sam Altman a few years ago came out, and his, I suppose, perception of why AI is going to be influential. He said, consider everything around you. Everything that's ever been created is a byproduct of intelligence and human ingenuity. What happens when we unlock intelligence at scale? What happens? Well, that changes everything. It's the one thing that humanity has been built off, and that changes everything. So I think we would be naive to go, I've seen for years copywriters saying ChatGPT shit at language. I've seen for years designers saying, well, it'll never do what I can do. If you then go a step further, now we have no code solutions. I don't know if you've had a play on Lovable, and you know, you start playing around with these tools, you go, I don't know, man. I think everything's going to change, and I don't know what is off the table. And now we have operator mode in models. We have the agentic era, which, for anyone that doesn't know, it just basically means that AI can use your computer. So pretty much anything you can do, it is potentially capable of doing. So look, I think nothing's off the table, but equally, I am an optimist, and I believe the creative industry and the marketing industry more broadly has dealt with more change than many others. We have to observe every algorithmic change. We have to observe all the conflating pressures in the world at any given time if you run an agency. So for me, like, I see it as an opportunity, but I think previous systems, the incumbent agency model, I think there's a lot of things, the pricing, the way that we value our work, all of those things are in question now. But I would say if you lean in to technology in a really meaningful way, short term, you have an advantage because you create a value arbitrage. I think longer term, you're just really well placed to just be a step ahead of the curve. But who knows? Anyone who says any of this stuff with certainty is full of shit, right?
Yeah. I find it interesting, like, I think it was a brief conversation we had, and I've heard you talk about it on another show about, you know, where AI is going and where you've seen it shift, and you mentioned that it's gone from kind of passive into active state.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think's the next state after that?
Yeah, interesting. So there's two parts of that. So what I mean by passive to active, when we got new AI applications, you had to go and prompt and request something. And there's like a few behavioral shifts that came as part of that process. Like, and I'll give you the crudest example. We all use Google a lot, or did use Google a lot, for pretty much everything, to connect us to new websites, new products, discovery. And the behaviors we developed were like crude keywords. I want to find a Japanese restaurant in London. I go, Japanese restaurant in London. When you have a large language model that is the median of all knowledge, you have to be really specific. You have to do follow-up questions. You have to be very pointed. So what you have is this shift where we're almost like in a crude way learning how to interface with a large language model. And when we first got the tools, we treat them like our previous tools. So we didn't know how to get the most out of them. And then you have this next advancement, which is modality. So modality meaning text can now be an image can be a video. And the reason for that is basically all large language models are built on language. Language is ubiquitous. Everything is a language. Your DNA is a language. Code is a language. So once you have an advancement in one field, you have an advancement across all fields. And this just acts as this multiplier and accelerator. And then you've got this next era. So models are getting smarter. They can now read, write, see, and hear. You now then introduce something that they call agentic. So this idea that an AI can move not just from me passively contributing to me, but an active contributor. I can set it a task and it can go complete a task and also work with other AI applications to be greater than the sum of its parts. And that moves us up the value chain from being able to do like rudimentary things to now more complex things. And one of my analogies that I use to kind of illustrate this with people, if I said to you, get a pen and paper out, write a story for me, you get one shot at it, go. The story you would write would probably be garbage, particularly after a few pints, Wes. Even a talented creative like yourself, it'd still be garbage. The reality is, that's how we interface with large language models. Well, in an agentic era, if you think of your best writing work, it's the byproduct of a few contributors. It's like a strategist that came up with that really compelling insight. It's then an art director that took that and brought that vision to life. It's then a creative director and a planner that figures out where that lives. Do you think of all those disconnected components? And suddenly now AI can emulate those dynamics based on models that are trained in very specific ways. And you go, now you can create value. So my perspective on this whole thing is why I'm so uncertain of, like, you said to me, what does this change? Well, now if AI can do a lot, it's already smarter than me, it has humanity's knowledge base, and it can work as part of a team, I go, I'm fucked.
It's true though, isn't it? It's mad.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And I'm being a bit hyperbolic on a Friday because I've had too many coffees and I'm trying to go decaf at the minute. But
it's crazy, though. Like, and I love hearing you talk about that. Obviously, I've not heard of the last state until you just said it, but I find it fascinating. Like, it's wild.
Yeah, it's brilliant what you said. It's almost like one person can be a team of 10.
Yeah.
So he has his own strong core competence, and then if he knows how to use the tool properly, he can have another couple of people build up from AI that do that, which is just like you described it, which is fascinating. But only I want you to tell us a bit more from a practical perspective.
Yep.
How are you using it, and how did AI change your life? And
I had that exact question.
Okay, so stop stealing.
I have that question.
Stop stealing Martin's thunder, Wes.
I literally just wrote it.
He's like the guy in the bar that's just, I got that question first.
I wanted to say that.
Come on,
so a couple of things, right? Look, I'm a big believer in a basic toolkit. So how do I use it in a really practical way? I'll give you some analogies. So right now, I'm a big believer in kind of, all right, let me start from a place of what's one of the biggest limitations right now is a really simple limitation is everything we have in our lives is usually really unstructured. Like unstructured data is a real problem. Like you probably don't name all your contracts correctly. You have random images that have random numbers, nothing structured. And we all have different systems for kind of storing things that inspire us. So one of the things I do is if I see content or ideas, I use like Notion Clipper, and I document my sources of inspiration. And why that's important is everybody should now have their own database and knowledge center. And that can be articles that inspire you. That can be books. That can be writing styles. That can be music. You name it. You should be documenting this stuff in a structured way. So that's something that I've spent, and I'm quite a disorganized person naturally. So for me, being really intentional and structuring things in a way has given me advantages because now I can plug in lots of tools and workflows to help me. The next thing, and this is a more recent thing, so I try and stay really consistent with content, but I'm like mad busy. And I mean, I know people are busy, but I'm like chasing so many things right now that I don't get time to do content. So now I've got a system where if I'm on a walk or something, I'll have a conversation with OpenAI saying, hey, I'm thinking about writing based on this topic. Here's a couple of thoughts. And in real time, I'll sort of co-author something. I'll have it read it back to me. And then I'll say, that's not good. You need to be more playful. Write in British English. And I'm basically in real time using my voice to co-author language. And then I can document that really easy. So again, I'm just cutting down the amount of time that I spend on things. Across our businesses, this is like me as an individual, across our businesses, and to give you a bit of context, Co-Created, we're a venture studio. So we build day zero startups. People come to us with an idea and we co-found it with them. And so we're doing everything from web experiences through to meeting schedulers, through to companies that help you incorporate in a really delightful way, through to growth company. We've got all sorts going on. And one of the things that we're seeing across every single company right now is structuring data, using workflows to do really interesting things. Our AI company called System 7 and our new web experience agency called Perspective, they had a call together. They've basically built a workflow that, and this was available before, but it's now done at a much lower cost. They've built a workflow that personalizes websites. So by using data enrichment in Clay, they can basically now develop a landing page that is personalized to you. So you go on the landing page, it says, hey, that's like, hey, and gives you your name. And suddenly then you go, well, that changes the way I think about things. I now prototype little novel ideas for marketing campaigns. So I'll give you an example. We were trying to do something around Valentine's Day. We created this little novel application on Lovable, took about 2 hours, and it basically gave Valentine's Day recommendations, gift ideas, and local restaurants for you. And that was off the back of a internal marketing initiative just to test out. And we span up a landing page that looked quite good, that captured data, and this working utility that cost us next to nothing in 2 hours. So there are endless ways you can use this stuff. If you're a artist or a designer, proof of concept, you no longer need to use your imagination. And a lot of designers I know use it to kind of give them perspectives on work that they didn't have before, meaning just showing some abstract feelings, getting draft one. I'm really interested in how tools work together. So using ChatGPT to create an image, then using ChatGPT to ask how that is, using ChatGPT to then turn that into a prompt, to then use that into Midjourney, to then use that into Kling to add motion. And suddenly you have these 5-second clips that are just really interesting and good that you can use in the creative process. So look, I could go for days of little user cases, from strategy work to insight to business plans to brand building to applications. And it's really fun for creatives when we've you want to connect the dots and you want to kind of structure that. It's a really fun time to play.
But creative wise, and the definition of creativity is kind of doing original work that comes out of nowhere, right? When we're talking about AI, it's all stuff that it's in a way it's already there and it's remixing, right? So it's remixing things and putting it all together. So what is your view between AI, creativity, and originality? I guess that's the question.
Really good question. I don't think creativity is originality. I think originality is one strand of creativity. So there's a famous book by Margaret Bowden called The Creative Mind. It was written back in the early 90s. And she distilled creativity down into mechanisms. And she talked about 3 mechanisms. One is combinational. That's me taking concept over here, taking another concept, combining them to create something new.
Hip hop.
Yeah. The second was perspective based. I can take a singular idea and showcase it in a new way, in a new environment. That again is a new way of displaying creativity. And the final was transformational, which is what you described, Martin, originality. And that's where people will, say, well, is it really original? My view is, and I'll forget the academia and the science that's gone into trying to distill down these abstract concepts like creativity. My view of my own creativity is based on my lived experience, my chronology, things I'm inspired by, content I consume, things I read, and how I use all that in a structured way to produce new things. And fundamentally, that's exactly how large language models work. So you can have a moral objective with how the models are trained around undoubtedly stealing IP. But we're at the point now where we've passed that valley. Like, that's almost a redundant conversation now because it's too late. AI is generating more content and more perspectives, and everything has been recoded and reiterated 1,000 times over. So it's like almost impossible now. The genie's out of the bottle. So I empathize with people having a moral argument or an ethical argument around the use of AI and stealing work. The reality is, like, we kind of just got to get over it and understand, okay, well, what's the next frontier? And like, that's a multifaceted conversation. You've got to have regulators, you've got to have platforms, you've got to have consensus. And I'll tell you what makes it really hard is if I said to either of you, is this AI generated? It's hard to tell because yes, we can probably notice something because the uncanny valley hasn't been bridged yet. We can notice fully AI generated content, but most things are AI generated. If you're using Adobe in any capacity, they're using generative tools to manipulate images. If you use any filters on your phone, that's using a form of intelligence to generate and manipulate images. So the lines are really blurred between what is created by technology and what's not. It's a very hard thing to regulate and govern. But look, your point around creativity, I would detest it, but it is a valid argument, by the way. Like, can it really be original? I believe so, but you could definitely argue the other side.
Interesting.
And what's the role of humans then in this increasing technology, right? So we said that a team of one can now be a team of 10. Technology is changing really fast. If we had asked you last year what AI cannot do, you would have said a few things, and this year you said those things actually AI can do that really well. So I guess the question is, how do we stay relevant in this technology advancement as humans that need to go to the loo and brush their teeth and need to sleep and need to rest and need to eat.
There you go. We all need shelter. It's the Maslow hierarchy. We all need food. Look, we all need entertainment. Look, my general theory on this stuff is, in a world that I do think there are some big questions to be asked around how do you support a society where, if not billions of people are displaced from earning a living in some way. I'll give you probably a bigger concern for me is not professional services and creatives, and I think we'll be fine. It's things like self-driving cars, autonomous vehicles. About 50, I think it's 13 to 15% of the population around the globe use driving as part of their income stream. Like, you displace 15% of the world's population from earning a living. What do you do with that? So there's the questions around universal basic income. Can we use technology to create more economic value? But then capitalism and greed is a real fucking thing. So, like, it's people are still people. I loved an Obama sort of quote early on in the kind of AI conversation, and he said, it might have been Warren Buffett actually. He said, everything in the world might change because of AI, except for one thing: people. We're not going to change. I think we're very adaptable. There are inherent challenges and there will be big questions asked of humanity. But fundamentally, I think we'll figure it out. Like, more people might become content creators. Or like more designers will like digitize their IP and ideas. I believe like people are going to create, there's going to be new asset classes. I was speaking about new ideas for business earlier, and like one of them was like, I think prompts could be an asset class. Figuring out how to construct a prompt and creating that into something. There'll probably be marketplaces off the back of that. So I think there's a ton of ways that humans can do really well. But if you're a person that buries your head in the sand, ignores change, and kind of goes, you're probably not going to fare well. Like, that's the truth. And my shorter term worry is more around younger people. So I think very inventive young people that are really ambitious will like use technology as an arbitrage to further their value in the world and accelerate their opportunities and careers. But I think there'll be a lot of people that will just sit there, not have traditional career paths to go down, or have less opportunities, not learn the skills that they need to, that we've all been through osmosis and working with other people. And I think there will be problems with the up and coming generation as a consequence of that. So I'm not blinded by the challenges, but I do think like there's a lot of stuff out of all of our control right now. So the only thing I have agency over is myself and how I behave and how I respond. And that's like my message to anyone who's like fearful. And generally speaking, two things can be true. Social media gives us this sense of anxiety that we're always left behind and we're missing out and we see the extremes of everything. But also the world kind of moves a little slow. I always use the analogy when describing this. Have you ever, I'm assuming you've both flown BA, British Airlines. What a shit application. The technology to build nice apps and booking systems have been there forever, but still BA doesn't allow me in-app to get my fucking boarding pass up. So like two things can be true. The art of possible will just accelerate at a pace that none of us are prepared for, but industry will move slow. So
I love that. I love that. And you know what, Oli, I was talking about with someone the other day, because AI is making production of these projects much quicker and much more efficient, and it's also increasing the level, the benchmark. It's much easier to spot the actual crap. In a way, we are all in a fast track speed towards having better and more and faster and cheaper and more efficient. So all the others that did not manage to do that, you can spot them really quickly, really easily.
My favorite quote on the generative AI era: mediocre is free to everyone. Humans, step up.
That's right.
It's mad.
And like we all see the dribble that's on LinkedIn from single prompts and like thoughtless acts. That's right. Why I'm like big on the creative industries. I think marketeers are so detail orientated. Generally, we're conditioned to care about every fucking full stop, every thought. We're able to switch modalities really quickly. You work with lots of clients and you're fractional all the time. I think people in the marketing industry are really well placed to take advantage of AI. But what we have to do is stop labeling ourselves like just marketings and creatives. Go start businesses, vibe code, go build technology. Everybody I know that runs an agency, they all like don't think tech's for them. They're like, oh, it's for like Silicon Valley. I'm like, historically, yes. But now it's kind of changing. So that to me is encouraging.
Yeah.
Oli, do you think that we are moving from a professional world where you had to niche and be a subject matter expert to being more of a generalist? You know a few things and you're able to connect the dots and able to use AI in a way that helps you kind of like expand your horizon. What is your view on that?
I think it depends. As a rule, I think generalists have certain advantages. Generalist just means you have context of a lot of things. You're able to skill stack and you're able to draw on different experiences. So I think generalism is an advantage now that an individual can use 5 applications and run a 30-person business on their own. Like, I think that's valuable. What I will say, though, if I think specifically to the marketing industry, if your value is no longer derived from necessarily just the work that you create, Your value is derived from your relationships, the additional value add that you give to people. I think the most important factor in that sense is domain expertise. If you offer a performance marketing agency for fashion businesses, you should know everything about fashion, supply chains. You should know everything about the culture of fashion, the trends, not just how to make ads for fashion. I think that is where domain expertise becomes really valuable, because you understand the problems of your buyers much, much better. So deep domain expertise, I think, is really crucial, because like fast forward 5 years and we're not going to talk about AI. AI is just going to be ubiquitous for technology. Everything is practically already AI, and increasingly more things will be AI. So the point being is like what then matters is knowledge, expertise, communication skills, domain expertise. And I think that's where I kind of I'm a little I don't like giving political answers and sitting on the fence, but I always say it depends.
You know, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So, I want to dig into a bit of you, man. I think I'm always curious, and I think we were saying in the pre-call, like I like finding stuff out about people that probably not many people know. So, like, tell me about your path. Tell me about like what led you into this life that you live now. Like, where did this journey start?
Journey started. So we grew up not far from each other. So I grew up in Barnsley.
Yeah.
Interesting thing about Barnsley, you'll know this about a lot of towns across the UK, and they're kind of like low aspiration places.
True.
Just generally speaking, nothing like I really nice people, but I just grew up and I was like delusionally ambitious. I remember just being in like careers class, and I forgot her name, but Mrs. Swindon, and she used to say to me, she was like, "What do you want to be?" I'm like, "A football player." And then she went, no, what do you want to do? And I'm like, "A football player." And I look back on that and go, who the fuck? You're telling me what I'm going to do at 11 years old? You should be encouraging me what you can do. And she kept questioning me about, I'm going to be a football player. And I had no doubt in my mind that I was going to be a football player. I was definitely wrong, by the way. But like, I was like, I'm going to be a football player. And I got 16. I used to play for Barnsley. And then I had an hernia injury. And at the time, I'd been like learning to drum for about a year. My mom taught me drumming, and I kind of become obsessed. I've got quite an addictive personality. Fortunately for me, my addictions didn't turn to class A drugs. It turned to like coffee and like passions. So I got count my blessings. But I went into learn drumming, and I was like, oh, I need to do something. So I did music production. Ended up going to college, forming a band, and became obsessed with drumming, music. And that band got a record deal, and then like did that for 3 or 4 years, recorded an album. We got number 3 in the indie charts. And then my brother, who was the singer, fell out with the guitarist. Then I was like, fuck, destabilizing again. So I thought I was going to be a football player. I then went, I'm going to be a drummer. And then I went, what do? I know music. So I went to university in Huddersfield and studied a course called Music and Promotion. And that's where I got exposed. I'd do everything from like music law. It was modular to like design. I remember learning like a little bit about typography, which was random, to acoustics. And then I had 2 modules that were comms, communication, and marketing. And I had this really interesting lecturer. He was this old dude. And I've even forgot his name, but I just remember he used to have a private company called the Satisfactory Limited. And he would talk about invoicing the unit. And I just thought he was just like this cool, charming lecturer. And we would go through case studies about Coca-Cola and Pepsi. And I just found it really interesting about how people think and how to influence behavior. And that led me into finishing university and going, okay, well, I'm not going to go in the music industry. Maybe I'll do marketing. I joined a large media owner, did sales for them for 4 or 5 years. I was pretty good at it. And then that led me, I started to build businesses as a side hustle. My first business was a light bulb business. I quickly learned that I don't give a fuck about light bulbs, and you kind of like have to care about what you're building. But I wanted to learn how to like take a product from China and build a website. And this is way before, Shopify and low code solutions. It was a real pain to figure this stuff out. But I learned some stuff in that process. So then I'm the person that has an offensive domain renewal. I've got I genuinely mean this, about 150, 200 domains that renew every year from just like idea graveyards that never exist. And then through that process, I'm like, okay, well, I clearly want to do my own thing. And then one day I'm scrolling on Facebook and I see Stephen Bartlett do a TED talk. Didn't know Steve. So I sent him a message on LinkedIn and just said, hey, really inspiring story. I'm doing my own thing. And he said, hey, come, do you want to meet? And at the time, Social Chain was quite nascent. It was pretty new, but building a bit of a buzz in media, particularly in the Manchester area. And then I fell in love with that business. This is like entrepreneurial flair. And then I fast track nearly 10 years and took me to the US, founded a company called Flight Story with Steve after we both left Social Chain. And last summer, I had an opportunity to kind of go on my own path. And that's where I set up Co-Created. That's been there. That was about 20 years that was about 25 years in a nutshell.
When I first met you, we have so many crossovers in our life. It's bonkers. And then I know we really never sat in detail, but from music to sport to New York to it's just crazy.
I got that. We didn't speak for long,
crazy.
But I was like, every time you would say something, I'd go, "Oh shit!"
It's bonkers, man. Yeah, it really is. Yeah. You got one, Martin? You got something to say? Or?
No, I was gonna say I'm just looking for what's next for you, Ollie.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
You're gonna get in some other random, I don't know, out of the world shit next, because you have so much in there, and some of the things they have almost no apparent correlation to each other, but it don't turn out well.
Yeah, look, I go, okay, if I try and zoom out and go, what skills did I acquire through these chapters? And interestingly, chapters in your life seem to be quite cyclical, these sort of 5-year blocks. You go to secondary school for 5 years, you have a university period. Even think of most institutions, it's kind of these are chapters in your life. And my early formative years were sport. So you learn a lot from sport, discipline, humility, competitiveness, whatever you learn from sport. Everyone gets different things. Then I had my sort of music, artistry, kind of figuring out and reeling, and that probably gave me some skills. And then I went on a formal kind of sales career in a media owner. So I learned how to communicate better and how to read a room, and then it was the entrepreneurial journey in some capacity. And Social Chain for me was, I call it entrepreneur school, underqualified, but not undercapable, and got lots of opportunities that allow me to raise my aspirations and ceiling. And then going into building Flight Story in sort of 3 years, the momentum we created. And I just had so many off the shelf ideas. And I understood that I'm a really good 0 to 1 guy. And at some point in the last business, I became an administrator, and there are much more capable people than me to manage larger organizations. And I realized I love ideas, communicating them, distilling them down, figuring out go-to-markets, figuring out hacks, how to gain unfair advantages, and bonding great teams and people. So that's what led me to go, okay, well, a venture studio would be the perfect. I get to selfishly repeat the journey over and over again of helping others, and in some ways pay it forward. In that kind of zigzag of a career, I'd definitely been exposed to a lot. Everything from IPOs and large corporate governance and mergers and acquisitions, through to just seeing and empathizing with the pain of looking at a blank sheet and not having a clue what you want to do next. So I always felt I could pay it forward to other founders. And my Co-Created was built on the basis that the marketing and creative industries is massively underrepresented. I believe it's got some of the best talent in the world that is underpaid. And now I actually think through job displacement, more and more people will be forced to go in independent. And I don't necessarily see that as a bad thing. I just think it's an unlock. And my vision was, if I could create a vehicle that was a gateway for people to start their entrepreneurial journey and help them bypass all the mistakes they will inevitably make and then stack the odds in their favor, that for me was good business. And something like every chapter I've been in, I always had kind of an exit event or what I would do next. This is the first time where I don't see a what's next with Co-Created. I actually feel like I've found my muse in some ways. And I work with amazing people. I got some really cool people that I work with.
So let's dig into you. So it's funny again, we've got another path, like me and Martin and Ash, every strategy workshop we have, a little expedition, we have this great idea and we buy a domain. Honestly.
Oh, look at that. You do this every night.
We usually had 3 pints. Or
yeah, well, only about 8 pints, and then it becomes a real thing. But no, so that's what's the one domain that you thought, this is going to be a hit, and then it's obviously
I want to make millions with this.com.
I'll tell you ours, and then you can tell me.
Oh,
so we had this idea called Get Shished, and it was basically like delivery shish on demand, and it was amazing. And we bought the domain and everything, getshish.com. It was a bit, I don't know why that never worked.
We were so excited. When we had it.
I feel like you need to sell that to German doner kebab or something.
Mate. No, we meant like as in like the smoking shish. So you deliver it.
Right. I thought you meant like shish kebab.
You deliver shish. You know, the nargile, the shisha.
Oh, yeah.
That's definitely like a Friday night. You're sat down and going, I wish someone would bring me
exactly. We thought we were going to be millionaires, mate. It was there. It was done. It was written. Come on then. Tell me yours.
I love that. So one I thought was a good idea, and this was in my formative days, I bought the domain justblend.com. And I had the view. I'll tell you two domains because they're good stories. Just Blend was basically frozen fruit served to you, and it was at the start of Innocent. So I remember Innocent coming along and like gaining all this traction before their Coca-Cola acquired them, and like smoothies and the health movement. And I remember just thinking there's something about the physical act of doing that makes it feel earned and makes it feel healthier. So if I send you a smoothie, you don't get the same satisfaction as creating it. So I looked into Just Blend. I ended up paying like designers and stuff while I was working my job to go build me this brand. And then I realized I knew nothing about logistics. I didn't know how to send frozen things, but I had all these like marketing hack ideas on how I was going to like acquire users and customers. So Just Blend was one of my ideas. And then the other was Coffee Unlimited. This was 20 years ago, Coffee Unlimited. In fact, a little later, maybe 17 years. Coffee Unlimited was my idea I used to get the train from Woonwell train station to Barnsley or Sheffield all the time. And I would spend, and I didn't have much money, and I would spend a lot of it on coffee. And I was like, surely there's a better way. I'm doing the same route over and over again. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool to have a subscription to coffee? And obviously, like, that's kind of a thing now. And like, I looked at coffee chains and said, well, they're incentivizing you to sit down and be on your laptop. I want to do the opposite. I want you to fuck off. So I thought of like little kiosks in bus stations and in like commuter links. And the idea is you'd pay £20 a month, get unlimited coffee. No one's going to go that nuts and have more than 3. Really high margin product. And I remember thinking that's still a good business today. And it was a better business back then. And I actually pitched it over lunch to PlusNet's founder, the broadband company in Yorkshire, because they were a client of mine. And I said, look, I got this idea. And he came to me, we had lunch. And I remember him telling me after, he goes, look, idea's cool. He said, you're kind of too early for me to invest. And he said, but I want to give you one bit of advice. He went, you are a marketeer and a salesperson. He said, find a product person to help you do this, because you spent 5 minutes telling me about the product. And then you spent 35 minutes telling me the brand, the image, how you were going to market it, how you were going to communicate, how you were going to like send, students and do wild things into universities. He was like, you are a marketeer. He said, find someone who compliments you and you'll be unstoppable. And I remember just thinking, and it always sat with me, but it was like really intuitively got that, not from what I did, but he could signal what I was saying. Probably the passion.
So Mark's put in the chat, he's bought the domain thankflux.com. He goes, any ideas? Like,
Look, I'll tell you a better one to buy, actually. Thankflux.com. That's actually quite cool. I'll tell you a good one. I saw a piece of viral content, and this guy, it's like a content creator in the US, and he used the phrase weaponize autism. He went release creatives into the world and they'll print you internet money. And I just thought that weaponized autism, I thought would be an absolutely killer brand for like a bunch of like crazy Mad Hatter creatives in an incubation house. I thought that was sick. So get that.
So last thing before we go, I've got two questions. Like, tell me, I know a little bit, so but the world doesn't. But tell me outside of scaling it and releasing fabulous brands and companies into the world, what does Ollie do? What's Ollie outside of this?
Bro, I do nothing but work. I'd love to like say.
No, you told us you like cooking earlier. Come on, you're a bit of a.
Oh yeah. Like, I fancy myself as a bit of a cook, just because I live in quite a remote location.
What did you cook last night?
That's an interesting one.
But I think I did jerk chicken last night. Martin, don't disrespect. I can spice it up. Don't.
I'm sorry.
When I said
I'm gonna shut the fuck up.
I get no spice. But I would say something I am trying to increasingly do. I have very bad morning and night routines. There's all these cliches in entrepreneurship where you have to get up early. I YouTube binge till 4 a.m. I look at my phone first thing. Like, I have these really unhealthy habits. So I'm trying to fix them. And I love combat sports and mixed martial arts and boxing. So I'm trying to like get in a routine of doing boxing in the morning, do some pad work and different things. So that's the thing that's new in my life that I'm going to scale up. So I eventually can have a 2-pack again.
I've got a family pack, mate. Don't worry about that. So come on, then. Plug what you got to plug. Anything you wanna talk to the world about?
What I want to plug. Look, I'll tell you a few things I'm really excited about. Co-created. So my main vehicle now, we back founders. If you have a cool idea, don't know how to build it, make it, turn it into a business, like that's what we do. I'm very much a believer in moving where the puck is. So if you have a traditional business and you have a vision for where the future of that business could be, we're interested. If you've just never ran a business before, but you feel you're capable and you've got some great ideas, our whole thing is co-authoring, co-creating. That's our methodology. In terms of what I'm excited about, just more to be revealed soon, but we're launching a product in a couple of weeks. We'll come out of MVP for something called Meeting. It's an AI scheduler. And it's basically an internet menace brand that is going to hopefully take over inboxes everywhere, which is really cool. And we are picking Calendly as our enemy. You think of the passive aggressive nature of Calendly when someone sends you a link and you think, what a wanker. When someone sends you a Calendly link, you go, what a wanker, you power moving me. And we're going to remove all that. And I love having an enemy. People talk about having a mission. It's more fun to have an enemy. So we're going after Calendly in an interesting way, a David v. Goliath story, which if you see Ting and the brand, it's hilarious. It's going to be an absolute menace. And the founder of that phenomenon, we got amazing couple of businesses. I'm co-authoring a new business called 916, basically a short form premium creator company. Another business is probably our biggest moonshot is something called founders.ai. And the whole mission with that is to be the starting place for 1 million businesses. So it's making interfacing with government websites and business administration easy, simple, and delightful, which sounds absolutely impossible, but we're trying to figure that out. So look, we got loads of cool stuff in. They're things I'm most excited about. But just generally speaking, I'm like really enjoying my work and working with new people. And yeah, it's really cool,
man. And lastly, like, have you got any questions for us? You want to ask us something?
Absolutely, chaps. What's like, as strategists, how are you feeling about AI? Because I don't know if you've used fucking deep research on OpenAI, but it's pretty damn good.
I think we adopted really early. Like, we found ways to bring it in, got creative. Even honest things like I created a GTP for me, and I asked myself my own questions, which I find interesting. So I use myself as a strategist and ask myself my own questions. In our day-to-day, in our workshops, we use AI as well. A lot of quite cleverly with like customer profiling and things like that. We build a true picture of an actual designed customer, like by prompt and feeding it information. But yeah, like I think the biggest sway for us really is research, is like really digging in and looking for opportunities, because as you said, like you've got this open gateway to information and insight, and if you know how to use it, you can find pockets and gaps, which as a strategist, that's what you're looking for, right? You're trying to minimize risk and seek opportunities, and that's really what AI can do well.
And you know what's really interesting that I don't know if enough people do, and this is like an actionable tip, and I've only just started doing this week, is if I'm doing kind of desk research on a category or a company or an idea, basically using the knowledge to eliminate elements. So for example, I'm doing a bit of research on a company and I want to find what's underrepresented on the London Stock Exchange. So even just adding that to like use it as a benchmark for, is this a good idea, as like one of the key criterias of it being underrepresented to investors. And like there's so many cool novel ways of thinking about using these tools. So yeah, I'm with you, man. Martin, what about you?
Yeah, pretty much the same. I think it's speed and efficiency above all, right? I think you are able to do a lot more with a lot less, and run through 3 brand strategies ideas in the same time and see which one is the one that you want to pursue first. But I think it's a wonderful time. It's all about the input and output, though, isn't it? I think all 3 of us, all 4 of us, including Ash, can go and be tasked with the same task using the same tool, but the results will be wildly different, isn't it? So
yes,
it's all about utilizing it properly. But I'm like you. I'm an optimist. I mean, AI changed my life. I would never want to go back into a world without AI. And I think exactly like you said, it's not a matter of what AI will do, will not do. AI is there. And will be there.
Yeah.
It will be ubiquitous. It will be integrated in every single thing. So first adopters are always those ones that can ripe the profits earlier. It's just wonderful. I think the other question that I have for you, Ole, is like, how the fuck do you remember all these companies? I struggle with all my clients, but you are like, we're doing this that does that, this that does that. Wait a minute.
I'm really good once I am useless at remembering things that I haven't distilled. The minute I care about something, I can remember. And there was an analogy, not an analogy, but I listened to a podcast once and they spoke about, because I'm really bad at forgetting people's names. I'm really bad with names. And I heard this on a podcast described as people that are bad at remembering names are usually sincere, because they're like, why should someone you meet for the first time mean anything to you?
Ooh.
But people that may be manipulative, they like remember, they go, hi, Martin, like they will reiterate, and it's almost like agenda driven. So I don't know if that's a lie or it's like the story I'm telling myself because I can't remember names. A kind of cool construct for me to enable. I'll tell you my last one. I'm usually late to most things all the time. And my rebrand of being an arsehole and late is I'm a time optimist. That's so, if you're showing up, I'm a time optimist. I'm sorry.
It's all about reframing.
I'm not we know the art of reframing. You can reframe anything.
Amazing, bro. Anything else before you go? We'll let you go, man. It's bank holiday.
West, you didn't ask the question.
What?
I'm waiting for.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if he's gonna. I don't know what he'd do because he's a drummer. I don't know if he sings, but I always ask, what do you sing in the shower?
So I don't. What do I sing in the shower? This is gonna sound really probably like Hamilton or something. Probably like the Hamilton. That's like my guilty pleasure. I'll tell you what. The only songs I know the words to is really embarrassing. It's like, probably I'll know the words to some Biggie tracks. I'll know the words to like Hamilton and like Nelly Country Grammar, and maybe a couple of English tracks. So I'm like way out.
So the picture we're painting is you in the shower singing Country Grammar. That's it. I'm good. Sign off with that.
Maybe
I'll ask Midjourney to do that. I'm gonna take a screenshot and then I'll let you know what comes out. I'll make it into a poster or something.
Yeah. Look, thanks
Oh,
for having me,
amazing, bro.
gents. I think it's
Pleasure.
really cool what you're doing.
Oli,
and
Oli, before you go,
good conversation.
where can people find you? Where are you up to? Where do you hang the most?
LinkedIn, I'm like classic. You see my face pop up in little clips all the time. LinkedIn is mainly, but just Olivier Onchev on all socials is my handle. And if you're interested in what we do as a business, co-created.com minus the E. We deliberately I could have bought the co-created domain for 15 grand and I was just about to pull the trigger, the actual right spelling. And I remembered not doing it because I prefer removing the E because it's more ownable. And I could get all the social handles. So I have every bit of digital real estate for co-created now, which is like hard to do with modern brands.
Well done, buddy.
Amazing, man.
Really hard. So
You've
anyway,
been a G, honestly.
Happy Easter.
I'll
Happy
check in-
Easter, happy weekend, happy AI. Go fucking do something.
and I'll check
Enjoy
in with
your
you
life.
soon. Love you, bro.
absolutely.
mate.
Take
Bye,
care.
mate. Bye. Wow. That was
Right.
I told you this kid was going to be amazing. What a fucking dog.
Very good. Very good.
And I feel really bad now for using Calendly. But obviously we're going to
but he's right. He's right. I think what did he say about power? Your power moving, your power shifting me when you send a link in the message is true.
Yeah, man.
But like how quickly things are changing. Even Calendly now, it's in the jargon, it's in the culture, it's in the communication in a way. Like it's crazy, huh?
Yeah, I'm about to rename my GTP to Wesotron 3000. By the way, from right, man. Are we going to try and sign off the right way?
I will. I finally remember what it is. I did not sign in us, but I will sign us out.
All right. We love you guys. See you in 2 weeks. Have a great
Like, subscribe, tell someone, share, tell your mom, tell your parents, tell someone. Please do support us because I don't know why not.
We're nice people and we're
nice people.
We influence people's lives. Love you guys. Peace. See you in 2 weeks.